So what we have here is an isometric. We're looking at the shoulder flexion now. Okay, we got a 0 rep max here because she's not going to be able to move this weight. But what she's going to do is she's going to drive just as hard against it, just like we did against the wall over there. So she's going to line her stomach. And what I want you to do is you're going to make sure that your arms are also fully outstretched. So you're going to move back a few inches. Keep going. Right there. So the point of contact we want is for the fist to be right up on that bar. Yes, slide forward a couple inches. Right about there. Good. And that's all it's going to be. We want to try to break through this bar as hard as possible. I'll stop it from moving or anything like that. And we want to do that for 20 seconds. We're going to do a straight set as hard as you can. Don't lose any of that flexion. Squeeze the glutes, bring the feet towards each other. And I want the whole chest to peel up off the ground. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Straight elbows. Perfect. 15 seconds. Drive, breathe. 10, 9, 8, hard as you can. 7, don't fade. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the good thing about this is that the end range that she's achieving right now, if we wanted to, if she passed that, then what we can do is we just make a new end range. So anything that she's able to reach or just barely get to, that's the point where we want to get to. That's the point where we want to block her. And then we bring it up one more notch and we create a new end range for her. So it's something that she'll never win, unfortunately. She'll always get beaten by the isometric, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's a great training tool in order to create and access more range of motion, so you get more mobility and more strength and more joint centration. Okay? So we're going to do 3 sets of this, then we're going to go into shoulder extension on the other side. Okay? Same idea as before. Let's try to drive even harder this time.
Okay.
Good. Drive. Good. Think of the straight elbows. Think of breathing out. Think of T-spine, extending that thoracic spine as hard as you can. 15. Good. 13. Don't fade. I'm seeing the shakes happening. 9. 8. Good. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Rest. Nice. Another 30-second break. Last time around, and then we're going to do shoulder extension.
Okay.
How hard is that?
It's really good.
Like, that's the whole idea with the isometric stuff, especially as like an interlude or a supplementary movement to big lifts, is that we get to amp up the nervous system. We get to use this for activation of muscles, right? We get to hit the end ranges as well, which is the most neglected part of the lift, right? Most exercises that are isotonic in nature, like a bicep curl, for example, even if the hardest part is when you begin moving it. And then the force curve, as it continues on, you got kinetic energy entering into the picture, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to move through that range of motion, right? So when we block that range of motion, you have an immovable object that you have to press against for a certain amount of time with everything you got. It's the equivalent of like your 0 rep max, not your 1 rep max, even harder than that, right? And so you never ever get to win against it, but you get a whole lot of training benefits from it that go beyond just muscular contraction, okay? Let's try it again. That was longer than 30 seconds because I'm a rambler. Good. 15. 10. 8. 7. 6. 5. Hard as you can. 4. 3. 2. Good job. Rest. Nice. Okay. Straight break, and then afterwards, we're going to move this back a little bit, and we're going to do some shoulder extension. Same idea though, okay? You're going to be lying in face down. You're going to raise the rib cage, you're going to drive the arms right back, straight elbows, and it's going to go wrists right against that bar too.
Okay.
So the only difference is just you're going to be facing down.
Okay. Should we, do you mean facing up? Like, no, facing down, okay.
Facing down, yeah.
But so like, should I move forward?
We can move forward and move this back too.
Okay.
I'll just block it.
Yeah.
That should be good.
Great. Awesome.
So you probably want to work your way in from underneath this way because it's going to be a little bit easier for you than backing up.
So when would be the ideal time to use these?
I like using them as primers to big lift workouts. So if you're doing like a deadlift workout, for example, I'll do some isometric deadlifts to start priming things up first. A couple sets, 10 to 15 seconds in length, maybe 2 or 3 sets. Give yourself adequate rest in between, and then you start with your actual isotonic workout, right? So I like using it in that way. And in the case of like how we did with the bench press, in between sets with opposing muscle groups that don't get in the way of this, that's also a good idea too, right? So mid-workout, I like using it tactically for muscles that one might not think are involved, but they could really help with the stability of a certain exercise,
Okay.
right? So there are different ways you can pepper it in, but most predominantly I like doing it as a precursor to exercise.
Okay, great.
Let's worm our way in here and do the face down shoulder extensions. There you go. Yeah, right about there. I'll store it for a little bit more.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So exactly, you're in the right position. You got the feet together. Okay, and she's already ready to go. Hard as you can. Don't fade. Good. Make sure the knuckles face this way. Yep. Good. Tuck the chin a little bit. Good. 10 seconds. 5. Keep the contact. 3, 2, 1. Good. Rest. Nice.
That was really hard, but somewhat easier than the last one, and I wonder why.
Well, it could be just your end ranges, and this particular range of motion is a lot better than it would be through that extension, right?
Okay.
Or sorry, through that flexion. I always get flexion and extension mixed up with the shoulders. All right, so we're gonna take another 15 seconds or so. We're gonna
Okay.
do another round, okay? This time, press even harder.
Okay.
All right. So let's progress this exercise a little bit by bringing your hands towards each other. Right there, good. Turn the knuckles out. Nice.
Okay, that's way harder.
10 seconds. 8, side of the wrist, side of the wrist. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work, good work, good breath. Nice. So that's the other thing, right? Is that you were saying that this is easier because you're doing it this way versus the other way. Well, we have 360 degrees of joint mobility that we can attack isometrically. So if we go from this angle to this angle, all of a sudden it's a little bit tighter, and so it's harder to get as far back,
Yeah.
right? So for a person who's struggling with, let's say, a shoulder dislocate exercise, the dowel drill over the top, people go wider, right? And then as they get more progressed and more flexible, or they've achieved more mobility, they can go narrower and go all the way around.
Right.
So this is the same idea with regards to being an isometric exercise, though, instead of a mobility-based drill. So we're just accessing that range and trying to kill more end range by way of bringing it in a little bit tighter from a tougher joint angle. Okay.
Cool.
So let's give this a shot for one more time.
Okay.
Then we're gonna move on. Nice. Knuckles face out. Nice. 10 seconds, chin tucked. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. All right. So I have a mobility drill that I want you to do as well. You have really, really good thoracic spine extension. What I was noticing in the rows that we were doing earlier is that there could be a little bit more useful rotation. Now, what the thing is with rotation is that a lot of times people will mistake what segments of their spine they're rotating through, okay? So you get an example of a golfer, for example, an older person who likes to golf a whole lot, and they complain of a lot of lower back pain. Well, that might be because they're not allowing the thoracic spine, and they don't have the capability of the thoracic spine to be mobile enough to dominate the rotation or the rotary component that their spine's supposed to go through, right? So instead, the lumbar spine starts taking over and it rotates way more than it should. So each segment of the lumbar spine should barely have any real wiggle room to rotate through. It's the thoracic spine that should have all that range to put you through this kind of range of motion like that, right? So when you have a dysfunction there, other pain will start manifesting itself because it's not the right function, okay? So let's do just a little PNF stretch here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take a seat around the edge of the bench.
Okay.
You can face straight out just like that,
Okay.
yep. So make sure you got a nice solid base with your feet, and you can bring them out wide too, just like that, okay? I want the hands to be interlaced, fingers like that behind the head, okay? I just wanna make sure your whole profile stays showing the entire time, just like that. And you're gonna choose a side to rotate your torso towards. You're gonna turn as far as you can. That's it. So this is about what your end range is.
Yep.
And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make you laterally flex like this.
Okay.
Breathe out. Come out of it, and it should create a little bit more range.
Okay.
You're gonna laterally flex again. And it should create more range. And then we're gonna laterally flex one more time, stay stable. And then it's gonna create a little bit more range of motion.
Oh, that's
Good.
awesome.
Let's try it. It works like magic, it's weird. Okay, let's try it the other way, but it's just by way of a lat stretch and also increasing a little bit of intervertebral space, some blood flow to get through there, and it makes you access more range of motion. Okay. Unfortunately, this is one that always requires a partner, but it's still a really good exercise. It's a really good stretch. So we're gonna turn as far as you can. Same idea. Elbow to the roof, Unlock the shoulder, breathe out, come out of it, and there it is. Good. One more time, stay tall, nice. And there it is. Good.
That's really cool.
So from there, let's take a look at just exercises that involve a lot of thoracic spine dominance, I guess. So let's take a look at a dowel overhead squat first, and then we're going to look at some light bar overhead squats.
Okay.
I know that you and Tony went over a lot of deadlifting stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at some squat stuff here.
Okay.
Especially since you have longer legs and arms too.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go for the overhead squat. Let's see if it's an exercise that you do a lot at all, or.
I would love to, but I'm not confident in my squatting abilities.
Okay.
I mean, I like a front squat, but I'm terrible at back squatting.
Yeah, well, let's see what this can do. It's actually not as bad as you might think. Let's keep on going with this. Let's make a couple of cues as we go along. So number one, squeeze the bar really, really hard and pull apart on it. Okay? Tuck the chin down as well. And let's try to pack those the rib cage down a little bit down as well. Okay, now let's give it a shot. Nice. Good. 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 2 more times. 2, good. Chin stays down. Look right there. Nice. Not bad at all. Okay. So a couple of things that we got to think about when it comes to overhead squatting. Of course, that upper body tension, that upper back has to stay engaged to support the bar, of course, right? But second of all, we want to make sure that you have the correct squat stance that's going to sort of facilitate your best personal depth. Okay. So have you always squatted that kind of width, that kind of foot width?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I just now got back into squatting because of my hip problem. But,
Okay.
So I try not to go out too wide or point my feet out too.
Okay.
Too
Well,
far.
so much of that is sort of contingent upon what your individual hip anatomy is,
Yeah.
right? So if you mention hip problems, there might be a correlation here as well that we could solve some stuff by just looking at the stance that you use. So first thing first, let's do a quadruped kind of a squat drill just to see where your spine sort of starts to curl underneath and what knee width and foot width might promote the best quality squat for you. Okay, so we're going to just go right down here on all fours.
Okay.
Choose any knee width first, so let's go wide or whatever, yeah, just like that. And all you're gonna do, bring your hands towards your knees just a little bit more, right there. And all you're gonna do is now rock your butt back toward your heels, okay? And what I'm looking for is just the point at which your spine starts to sort of tuck under, your pelvis sort of starts to tuck under like that, okay? So this is a pretty good depth right here. Okay, bring it back up, try it one more time. Okay, come out of that, and then we're gonna try it with a wider base with your knees. Okay, let's try that. Drive back. So it's happening earlier there, right? You can see that. Let's try it narrower than the first one. A little bit wider than that, a little wider than that. Right about there, yeah.
Okay.
Drive that one back. It's happening pretty early there. Try an inch wider than that. Okay, so pay attention to where, this is a good one right here. Pay attention to where your feet and knees are and think about the stance that you just used when you were doing the dowel drill with me a second ago, okay? So this is narrower than that. I want you to stand up and just body weight squat with that particular width, okay? So it's a little narrow, exactly. And see how that feels. Let's go all the way down to the bottom and let's try to drive the knees out with the elbows. Don't worry about what your back looks like or anything like that. You're just gonna try and hold that position. And I want you to give me a little rock forward and backward just like this from side to side. So you see I'm coming off of my heel on each side. So I'm sort of drifting each knee forward, just like that. Yeah, exactly, right? And as I do it, I'm just trying to stay open, opening up that inner thigh region as well. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna plant the hands down and reach up with one hand. It's okay if your heel peels off. Same thing on the other side. Reach up with the other hand. Good. You're gonna stand up out of that. Okay? So we're gonna try that drill one more time. Down, side rocks, reach, and then we're gonna go back into that squat.
So down?
Yep. Side, yep, exactly. Good. Do your best to try to keep your heels a little closer to the ground on each one so we can build up some flexibility here. Yeah, good. Good. Plant one hand inside the foot. Good. Big reach. Nice. So think of the T-spine drill we just did. We're rotating through the chest. We're not rotating through that lumbar region. Okay, and we stand up out of it. Good, we got one more time.
Okay.
Good. Elbows are blocking the knees. Yep. Nice. Nice. Plant the hand. One up. Twisting through the chest, good. Down, twisting through the chest. It's improving as you go along, which is great. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's try now a free squat. Okay, same stance, same positioning. Let's just try hands out in front, going through that range of motion. I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing an improvement just in terms of the depth and stuff that's being achieved just from this drill, which is great. Okay, it's a really, really good start. We're gonna use that. Do you feel different?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it opened up like a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try the dowel again. And let's try the overhead squat with all points of tension, all that same stuff that we're talking about with that new foot width and so on, and we'll see how that feels. Okay, drive the knees out as you squat down. Not bad. Keep going. Good. Control your negative. Control it down, squeeze your way down. Nice. One more time. So one of your issues that I'm noticing here, especially for your femur length and so on, is the fact that for people, I'm in the same boat, long legs, long arms, and so on. So to reach full depth with a good balance to it, where you're not getting pitched forward and so on, what I really like to rely on is some good dorsiflexion. Okay, and you're a little bit locked up in that ankle region. There's a lot of dorsiflexion that you could still achieve. Okay, so there are a few ways that we can approach dorsiflexion to improve the quality of the squat. Number one, a lot of people will think about different ankle mobility drills, which is fine. What about there's calf stretching, of course, to help open it up. But what about on the reciprocal side? What muscles are responsible eccentrically or even concentrically to pull you into dorsiflexion? So the tibialis muscles, the tibialis anterior, and so on. Okay, these are exercises that are very, very simplistic in nature that I think are going to do you very, very well. Okay, toes up. We're just going to walk it out from here to that bench. Real little steps, facing forward, toes facing forward, heels on the ground only, and short little strides. Short little strides. High as you can go with the toes. Good, so as high as you can get with those toes. You're going to walk it there, we're going to walk it back, and then we're going to do the same thing, toes out and toes in.
Okay.
Don't drop the toes, turn, come back, same thing. Good. Nice and slow, short strides. Good. Should be starting to burn by this point in time. You're not going to drop the toes just yet though. We're going to turn around, you're going to go toes out now as far as you can, just like this. Yep. Good. Tall body, short steps. I'm starting to see some balls of the feet down there. I want them to stay off the ground.
It's so hard. Right.
Turn.
Okay.
Good. Let's get that right foot up, right foot. There you go. Almost there. And she's just walking normally now. Okay, let's turn again, and we're going to do one more, toes way in, just like this. Yes. Because it's the same game that we're playing with relative tension. Every load-bearing joint that we have in the body, there needs to be a relative tension from one side of that joint to the muscles on the other side of that joint. It's like a tug of war that we want to always end in kind of like a tie, so that each group of muscles is pulling its own weight, so to speak. All right, so instead of just looking at mobilizing or stretching one side of the muscles to create range of motion, it's about how we access that range of motion. So stretching on one side is good. If I want to stretch my chest against a wall or something like that, it's great. This is a passive way to do it. But how strong are my back muscles to pull me into that same level of flexibility or that same level of stretch? So by activating the tibialis anterior muscles, it can pull you into a greater dorsiflexion than just stretching your calves out all the time, right? Or trying to stretch your way into that position, okay? Let's use that pump that you have to try those squats again, and hopefully your knees can travel further forward over your toes. Not bad, not bad. It's starting to improve. Good, remember your upper body tension. Yep, that's better. Bar went to the right place that time. That's more like it. Good. Okay, so something that a lot of people will start doing once they, practice with dowel enough times is they'll go straight to a bar. They'll take even a light bar that's maybe 30 pounds or something like that. But it's a huge jump for an exercise like this if somebody's having real balance issues with it and getting the right positioning and all these types of things. So what I like to do is take a light plate, string it on the bar, the dowel, and this is our loading to start. So it's a nice micro load. It's going to go right over the top of your head. And this is it. Bring your hands in just a little bit. Perfect, okay? Pull apart on that. And now we have a little bit of weight that we can play with to see how that feels on the body and how the body has to respond to it. Not bad. Good. Let's keep that plate right over the middle of your foot the whole time. Fight for it. Good. Good. Try not to touch my arm. Come on. Better. One more time, just like that. Good. Good. So going from the empty bar or going from body weight or whatnot to like a 5-pound load or a 10-pound load is much smarter than trying to load up your shoulders or an insufficient mobility of the thoracic spine with an empty, unloaded Olympic bar or an unloaded practice training bar, because it's still really, really heavy, right? And I just like this as a micro progression, all right? Yeah. So you were saying that you have some issues with some front squats, or?
I do front loaded squats all the time because my back squats are pretty ugly.
Let's take a look at some back squats. Why not? Let's break it down. You want to use the inside or the outside?
It doesn't matter. Either way.
Let's go inside.
Okay. So. Sets here now.
It's too low for you.
Pretty high.
How about right under the 7? See how this feels for you. Let's take the bar completely down to nothing.
Okay.
So let's see what your bar positioning is first. Let's see what the tension is that you create first, and then we'll get going.
Okay. Now, are we talking high bar or?
What you're comfortable with. What do you do most?
I'd prefer high bar.
Okay, yeah. I would recommend it for your body type anyway. Okay, so give me a couple of repetitions and then we'll start troubleshooting. Two more times. Rest. First of all, I wonder if this is better than what you normally experience just because of all the stuff you've done so far. Because it looked pretty good. It looked pretty good.
It didn't feel as bad as it usually does.
So, again, same rules apply really. So the tension that you created on that overhead squat, same thing with the barbell when you have it on your back. So if you're not pulling apart on the bar hard, I want you to do that with a barbell as well in the back squat. Second of all, your knees position, they are traveling outwards, but it seems like it's more naturally and not more of like a deliberate attempt. I want you to think a little bit more about driving the knees out in order to let the butt fall through, okay? So that's gonna create a little bit more mobility for you. Third, head position. You really, really like to look up while you do this. See yourself towards the floor. See yourself towards the floor, and you will be surprised at how much more depth it creates for you, okay? So it's just that one cue should really, really help.
Yeah.
Okay, tension on the bar, iron grip on it, good. Okay. Tension through here, elbows are gonna stay up a little bit. Head is gonna be tilted down just a bit, perfect, okay? So, drive out through the outsides of the feet a little bit. Not bad at all, good. Yes. Good. Chin, one more time. Nice, rest. There's more to fix, but I like that set. I like that set a lot, okay? When you put a little bit of load, it's gonna put you into a loaded stretch. It's gonna get you a little bit more range of motion just because that's what we're looking at here today. But more importantly, what I wanna look at is, the chin position, okay? We really, really wanna keep that down. Pressing through the outsides of the feet rather than rolling in towards the big toe, that's going to be pretty important to you as well. When you go down towards the bottom, and we're going to do a certain technique as well, but when you go down towards the bottom, this is something that a lot of people who are watching are probably going to be thinking about is, what about butt wink? What about how much the spine tucks underneath? Even the quadruped test that I just did a few minutes ago, where I was looking to see what promotes the best depth, I was looking to that point of what makes the spine go into flexion. Going into flexion is the most important key term out of all of that. Everybody is going to have a certain measure of butt wink unless they're like obscenely flexible and they have the right hip anatomy, where the hips might be positioned more towards the front of the pelvis compared to out to the side, or more deeply nested like this compared to a ball and socket that's more shallow, etc. There are a lot of factors that play into this, right? So when you have a squat and you go into a butt wink position, it's not a question of whether or not it happens at all, but how severely it happens. How severe is this butt wink, okay? If you watch even Olympic lifters and people who have very, very strong squats, you will see that if they go deep enough for it, but it's not like they're getting debilitatingly injured or something like that time and time again. So that says something. We want the spine to not exit neutrality. We don't want it to not exit extension. When you set up for a back squat, when someone sets up for a back squat, chances are their spine is already in a slight extension when they're ready to stand up with it like this. So when they go down, it exits extension and it might go to neutral, which will turn the pelvis underneath, but that's not butt wink in my books. In my books, butt wink is what brings the spine into that unhealthy flexion. So we never want to be flexed under load. That's putting the muscles of the lumbar spine into a stretch, which is not a strong position, and it's putting the spine into flexion, which is not good, okay? So you have this butt wink, and it's not happening where it brings you down to that flexion. It's still very, very safe, okay? So I just wanted to bring that up for whoever it might apply to. It's a very, very important thing to know that we can't be so scared of that whole butt wink thing as people might be, okay? Let's try putting 10 on either side first. And let's
I think I left it on.
Clip it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Same rules apply. This time, the most important thing for you is the chin. Tension on the bar like you were. Good. Outsides of the feet, chin stays down. There it is. Nice. Nice. Good. 2 more times. 2, good, creating space with the knees. That's it, rest. Nice. Good, how's it feel?
Good, really good.
So what I'm gonna modify now is just not anything else to do with the way that the reps or anything like that, just your tempo, okay? I'm gonna make you do a 4-second negative toward the bottom. You're gonna freeze there for a full second count, then you're gonna come up.
Okay.
So we're not even gonna change the weight, okay? I need 4, 3, 2, 1. Up. That's what I want to see, okay? Good. Tension. That's it. Chin stays down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Up. Nice. How'd that feel?
Under control.
Yes. Okay, so the tension that you're creating, it's going to be eccentric strength that you're really putting into it by doing a rep this way compared to going through just a 1-0-1-0 kind of tempo or anything like that. It's going to make your fast twitch muscle fibers work much, much harder, and everybody can lower more than they can lift, okay? So that's a very important principle to understand, that everybody, doesn't matter what the exercise is, if I handed it to you at full extension and told you to lower it slowly, you'd be able to do that before you could push it away from you or pull it up or pick it up or whatever. You can overload an eccentric more so than you can overload a concentric, and that just shows that the strongest muscle fibers are the ones that are going to recruit the most when you're doing a heavier eccentric or you're controlling an eccentric. So with that said, using this can also help you, especially with the pause at the bottom, it can also help you achieve a little bit more mobility because it'll push you down to that position. It'll be able to get comfortable down there without just glancing out of the position. Similar to the principles that I was saying about the isometrics and how all that worked, right? So we're accessing this range of motion by freezing there in the hole in that bottom position, and it's going to really, really build up the strength of our squat in those bottom end ranges, okay? Nobody usually hangs out there, okay? Let's try a set of 3 repetitions. Okay, we're gonna put a little bit of load on there as well. We'll put another one of those plates on there and give it a shot. Let's go for a triple. Tension outwards. 4, 3, 2, freeze. Up. There it is. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Up. 2. Good. One more time. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Up. That was your best rep.
Sorry.
Good. Rest. Good. So.
It took me a while to get up.
It was good though. Valsalva technique, you want to make sure that the stomach is full of air on your descent. You almost want to be full of held breath almost at the bottom, to that bottom range. We don't want any laxity to enter the joints. We don't want to lose any air when we're down there. The second that we lose that tension, everything is going to start falling. It's going to make you pitch forward and so on, especially when the load starts getting seriously heavy, all right? So we went over some squats. We went over 2 different isometrics. We went over the single arm dumbbell row. Went over the bench press. What else we got? I know he's probably pretty toast right now, but.
Do you want to do an overhead press?
Yeah, we can break down the overhead press too. We can do it right here. How are you doing time-wise?
Yeah, I was going to say, you keeping track of time?
Oh, yeah,
Well, we have an hour.
Okay. Time is 10:05, just so everybody knows we're out here.
Okay, do I need this a little higher?
We
or
can,
is that,
we can bring it up one.
or that could be fine. I mean, I could just,
Yeah, it's up to you,
yeah, I don't mind like dipping under.
Okay.
I get the sense that Lee's done this before. He seems pretty calm.
Yeah, pretty good for the first time.
Oh, thanks. I do a bit of stuff on camera a lot, so yeah, like whether it's television or whether it's like, you know, videos that I make for myself or whatever. So yeah, and I teach too, so I don't know, lots of instruction stuff, base stuff, so I'm not too bad at it, I guess. But, well, the NSCA thing that I was filming yesterday,
Yeah,
I did it all in one. It was a virtual thing, right? So it was the recording just like this.
Yeah.
One take. It was the guy before me had to go from 9 a.m. until like 3:30, and then I came in. I was done by 11. It was
Oh
all
my
one
God.
take. Yeah, no, I did really well with it. It was good. It's fun. Okay.
Okay.
Guys, ready to go? Let's do the overhead press. So, do you want to tell me what your frustrations are with this exercise first, or do you want to just?
I don't even know where to start with that because I don't really do this.
You don't do exercises?
I use dumbbells
Okay.
to overhead press.
How's this weight going to look for you in terms of like, is this going to be like a set kind of weight, or is this really light?
I wouldn't say it's really light. I would say I could go up maybe a little bit, but
How many reps could you get out of the empty bar right now?
let me see.
You're fine. Okay, rest. This is gonna be fine. This is great because there's gonna be so much that we can break down with this exercise. So I'm excited to talk about this one here.
Okay.
Okay. So, right, the overhead press is an exercise that you'll see people either neglect in the gym altogether because they know it's hard, or they will do it, but they'll do it poorly, and their amount that they can lift relative to their other big lifts is usually paltry, you know? So I have seen a lot of people who can bench 300, 400, whatever, deadlift 500, whatever it is, and squat 400 or whatever it is, but then when it comes to an overhead press, their numbers are just not as impressive or not even close to as impressive. You know, and the real reason why is because beyond any of the other exercises, I feel like the overhead press is the one, the strict press is the one that is the most reliant on physics being on your side, being efficient with your movement pattern so that you could properly move load from bottom to top in a correct plane of force, okay? So we have to set ourselves up so that everything is sort of falling under that idea of being efficient in our movement pattern. And if it's not, the bar's gonna go down or you're not gonna have a good rep, all right? So let's take a look at just how you do them on your own before we start breaking things down and troubleshooting here. So give me a set of 5 reps with the bar. Good. 3, 2 more. 2, last one. All right. So Danny is showing something that a lot of lifters will sort of fall prisoner to, and that is not respecting the bar traveling in a vertical line. Because of the fact that your face is in front of the bar when you have it nested on the collarbone area to start out, you start by pressing the bar forward. Okay, so from the side view, what I end up seeing is the bar at the top position over empty space. So it looks like this, where you're here and that bar is traveling vertically way in front of me, okay? So we want the bar to finish right here.
Okay.
So it's right dividing my body into a front half and a back half,
Right.
okay? And that's what's very, very important because we have our spine actually bearing the load and we have it the most supported this way, okay? So first things first, let's just get the bar in space over the top like that and see what happens with your body when you do that.
Okay.
So drive it up, we finish right over the back of the head a little bit more, back, right there, okay? So this vertically divides your body into that front and back half. Straighten the knees, squeeze the butt, everything is tight. Good. So what we have to do is we've got to get rid of this coming into an overarch to achieve that position, okay? Let's lower it, let's take a look at some stuff. Yep, rack it up. So the overarch is the next thing that a lot of people will have problems with. When they come up, they might get their hands in the right place in space, but it's at the expense of all of this going on them, so they're here, okay? So we've got to find the position where we can close this up and still have the requisite mobility back here where our shoulders get into that flexion, okay? So a lot of people will start looking at different exercises for, you know, the shoulders themselves or the back or whatnot to try and fix this up. But if we want to create that stacked position, what we really have to think about is our trunk musculature. How strong is our trunk musculature to keep the rib cage from flaring up, keep the belly button tucked in tight, and keep the spine neutral, okay? So how am I going to put this? Basically, again, with that tug of war kind of thing, if your pelvis was like a pail of water, we don't want it to pour out forward. We don't want it to pour out backwards, we want it to stay level, all right? So the abs and the glutes are going to be the most responsible for making sure that the pelvis is posteriorly tilted or stacked the right way underneath so the body looks straight underneath there, right? And we don't have that overarch that's happening. Okay, when somebody doesn't have shoulder mobility, that's usually the first place where all that stuff is going to start to go. So we're going to do the old-fashioned shoulder dislocate drill first to try to open up that, and then we'll look at some ab exercise that will help light some stuff up. So the goal here while you do it, keep going, but the goal here while you do it is to not let this happen as you get through that mid-range, okay? So keep the chest down as you do it, and then you'll feel more in that shoulder region.
Oh, right.
Nice. So for somebody who's too tight to even do it this way, what I would recommend is using like a band or something that has a little bit of give or play room in order for them to get around without having to compensate or really break their shoulders or anything like that. But you're doing okay here. Do one more time. Good. Okay. So the second thing, like I was talking about, the responsibility of the trunk to avoid that hyperextension. There are many different functions of the trunk musculature. You know, we have rotation, we have anti-rotation, we have trunk flexion, we have lateral flexion and anti-lateral flexion, and we have anti-extension. Anti-extension is what's going to be the most pertinent to this exercise right here, because as soon as we move our arms overhead, the abs might disengage, causing that lumbar extension to happen. All right, so if we want that to go away, we have to do exercise that will get the abs to work while the hands are overhead or approaching an overhead position, okay? So I'm gonna give you one drill here to start with, just a long lever plank, okay? You're gonna walk your hands out to a full, not push-up position, but past it, and you're just gonna hold that for a 10-second count, okay? So we're gonna call this a little bit of a held isometric as well, then we're gonna get right back into this exercise here, okay? So start up like a little bit higher, like a downward dog position to start. Yeah, so walk it in first. Yeah, okay. So the first thing that what you're gonna do, keep the hips nice and high. You're gonna walk out with the hands till you reach this crack in the floor right here, okay? You can try it, yeah, high hips to do it, high hips to do it. There you go, yep, keep going, keep going, keep going. Hold that position, good, 10 seconds, squeeze the glutes. Notice the back is nice and flat, that's what we wanna maintain. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, walk it in. Good, good. Stand up with it. Good. We're gonna do that one more time as well, okay? We're gonna try the same thing because that was really, really well done.
Okay.
Good. High hips, neutral spine, so we don't want the spine to cave in to create the same position we had in that overhead press.
Okay.
We wanna keep it nice and flat. So let's walk it out here with the hands. Out, 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 keep the hips high. Good, right there, good. 5. Good. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's walk it back in. Good. Perfectly fine. Okay, so I liked that because this is just horizontally replicating what this position is approaching, okay? We have a bar going overhead, we have our hands going overhead, and we're maintaining a neutral spine that's braced by the core, okay? So I hope you can understand the relationship between these two exercises. A lot of people will think that they have nothing to do with one another, but I think it's a very important supplementary exercise to help with overhead press strength and stability and so on.
Sure.
Let's try getting up overhead again, this time with a neutral spine and thinking of this exercise too.
Okay.
Then we're going to start talking physics. Hold that position. Hey, it looks pretty good. It's looking a little bit better. So you're starting to light up those muscles that are responsible for keeping your spine much more neutral. So this is better. Okay, let's lower it back down. So now we start thinking about the actual setup to get from point A to point B, okay? Point B looks pretty good. Let's get point A and the movement towards point B to look perfect as well. So, step number one when we think about an overhead press, we want to think about how much is this bar being supported over the course of that distance, okay? So when you started, you had the bar in a position that was a little bit more broken wristed, okay? And that's not wrong, right? Because we have to get the bar to stay on our collarbone to start out. So having a position like this is fine, but we want to watch out for just how far back in the hand it's positioned. When it's here, the bar is actually over empty space because the forearm is no longer supporting it, right? So we want that bar to stay a little bit more nested over the forearm so that we have that line of force available to us. And that's a reason why with intermediate advanced lifters, you would fall under these categories as well. I would actually recommend the use of a false grip.
Okay.
So when you take the thumb and you wrap it around like this, it gives you the chance to put the bar further down toward the base of the palm. So when you close and you clasp the bar just like this, the bar is vertically right over my forearm now and I don't have to do any compensation. I can still keep the same broken wrist and I make my press. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, aim for your nose. All right, you won't hit it, and if you do, you won't hit it again. Okay? So aim for the nose, tuck the chin in, drive straight up. It's gonna give you a little bit of a shave on the way up. You get the head and chest through the window that you create with your arms as you approach the top. Once that clears your forehead, you get through, all right? And we finish in that same position that we worked on, all right?
Okay.
False grip. Good. More toward the base of the palm. Yes, just like that. Okay, elbows are vertically underneath the bar, feet a little bit in towards each other. Good, squeeze the glutes, tuck the chin, breathe in, aim for the nose and drive straight up. Nice, hold that position. Good, let's make the palms face forward just a little bit. Perfect. So that's a good finished position. Let's return back down to the bottom. Keep on going. Boom. Boom, don't go around the face, go into it. Yes. One more time. Up. Good, rest. Nice. We're gonna stick with sets of 5 with this. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, that feels a lot different.
Feels different, eh?
Yeah.
Feels better. You're in line with the weight, and number one, number two is that the bar's vertically loaded over your actual spine this time, right? So you're not pressing it forward. That's why it's feeling so heavy for you at first, right?
Right.
So you start getting it here, and you can just press straight underneath. It's the ceiling for how much you'll be able to push over your head is going to be so much higher, right?
Yeah.
So, great.
Awesome.
Want to stick with the empty bar for work sets?
What do you think? Do you think I'm capable of more?
Looked pretty strong. I haven't even come into spot or anything like that. So I think that going, putting a couple cookies on there would be okay to start.
Sure. Should we?
Yeah, let's clip it up. I'm still quite confident that you'll be able to move this overhead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think so.
Big breath in. Up. Nice. 1, 2, good. Up. 3, good. Up. 4, last one, head comes through. Nice. Rest. Easy peasy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So remember, this is a mistake that a lot of people will make as well. So they get set up and they do the lifts really, really well in the concentric. And then on the eccentric, when they come back down to the bottom, the elbow starts drifting behind again, right? And so then they're in this trajectory here instead of this one here, okay? So you gotta make sure that when we come back down, I like pulling the elbows in towards, it's almost like a screwdriver motion, okay? So you come out, you flare it out just a little bit, come in, they flare back in, okay? So you gotta see this happen here in order to make it, it doesn't have to be too exaggerated, I'm exaggerating it for the purposes of this, but you wanna see that screw outwards, then screw back in so the elbows are coming back into that closed position that keeps them vertically underneath the bar, okay? So all we're looking for is these perpendicular lines, and we want always to have the proper moment arms creating the right torque, basically, all right?
Great.
That weight looked really good. Let's keep on doing work sets of 5 here. Glutes on, feet in a little bit, big breath in, chin tucked, up, good, up, good one, up, 3, 2 more times, up, good, last one, up, good job, rest. Nice.
That's awesome.
So, when you're at the top as well, everything looks good. Think of the same thing we did with the dowel, the overhead squat. Same thing we do with the back squat. Do you want a minimal amount of tension that you create at the top of the lift? Just because you have the stacked position up there, let's take advantage of it and create some tension so you can get used to feeling what that load feels like vertically over the top. Okay, so we pull apart on the bar a little bit. Bars over wrist, elbow, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle, right? That's the idea. Okay, let's take a little bit of a longer break so you're nice and fresh for your next set. This has to be the most total body that you've like trained in like...
Yeah, a long time, ever.
You did every big lift that you can think of.
Right. Plus some cool drills.
Yeah, I like some of these things. I like all of these things. I use every last thing that we've done today with many of my clients.
Wow.
Yeah. So it transcends just the big lifts, especially after my injury. Like it made me much more, open and open-minded towards finding different methods of training that are going to benefit for long-term health, right? And
right.
It transcends just the physics of these big barbell movements. It's great to be efficient at these, but once you get there, like what else do you have to do for health? It's not just about strength of these lifts.
Right.
I mean, people get caught up with these a lot. Let's give it on the shot though.
Okay. Yeah, this is great.
Elbows under, yep. Up. Good, don't press forward. Up. Better, 2. Up. 3, nice one. Last one. Up. Good, rest.
That's awesome.
That was your best set so far. It's hard to see everything when I'm spotting from behind, but the reps that I'm seeing and the speed and everything like that, where your elbows seem to be and so on, looked really, really good.
Well, and you can also just feel how powerful it is compared to the first set.
Yeah, when you have more of your body underneath the bar, it makes it so much stronger, and it's